Today we are talking about qualifying for Boston Marathon and taking up marathon running later in life. So welcome back to the She Runs Strong podcast with myself, Nikki Friedman, and Shona Hendricks. We are powered by Coach Parry, and we have a coaching call episode today for you. So before we start, Shona, hey, how are you doing and how's training going?
It's going, Nikki. It's going. Had a few little bouts of not inconsistency, just work life stress, colds, sicknesses, but dealing with all of that, and carrying on. So looking forward to this call because I think it's going to be quite inspiring. Jackie is on our Coach Perry platform and has ran some amazing times, and so I'm looking to get some inspiration for my own training for Valencia now as well. And yourself, Nikki, how are you?
Yeah, absolutely. Same as you've had a bit of colds and training hasn't been going quite so well, but I love talking all things marathon. So this will be great to get into training for Boston. I know Boston is one of those marathons that you really want to qualify as well for, Shona. It's one of those right up there, isn't it?
Yeah. One day when I'm big, and that's exactly it. I think like chatting to Jackie now as well will be quite inspirational about that. I mean, Boston is just exactly that. It's one of those, one day when I'm big, dreams.
You aspire to getting up to. So So Jackie's been on our forum for I think since 2021. So she's been a long time Coach Parry runner. So that's great to hear her progress and how she's enjoyed the coach. Well, hopefully she's enjoyed the Coach Parry program. She's certainly had a good lot of successes. So let's get her on and chat and find out all about her.
There we go. Hey, hi, Jackie. How are you? Welcome.
Hello. Great to finally meet you.
Yeah,
well, it's great to meet you. In person, but
in person,
yeah. So we love to just hear all about maybe a little bit about your background, really. We've chatted to you off air, but we'd like to hear just, I know you've got a bit of a sporty background. So what was your sporty background, and then why have you now turned to marathon running?
So a sporty background, definitely. From when I was younger, I always enjoyed running and sport. And at school, I had like the javelin record and the long jump record, but not any running records, weirdly enough.
All right.
So at school, I enjoyed all of the sports really, and I played hockey actually up until I was 50.
Wow.
And I've also done a sports science degree, so my background really is sport. I just love sport. And it was hockey, and I got to 50, and I just decided maybe I've plateaued in terms of my hockey prowess. And I was actually introduced to parkrun in April 2016. So at that age, I was 49, and at 50, I said, okay, I can get better at running, but I can't get better at hockey. And I just decided I'd take running a little bit more seriously and start that running.
Can you remember your first park run time?
My first park run time was over 30 minutes, but exactly what I don't know. I actually ran it with some family who'd come down from Blackpool, and I ran it with my partner and niece and sister-in-law, and the niece was just there going, "Why am I doing this? Are we there yet? Are we there?" And that was my first parkrun experience, but I was hooked, and I'm actually on 247 parkruns.
Amazing!
The big 250s coming up.
Yeah,
excellent.
Yeah, but I think my parkrun time, I got my best parkrun time last year, which was 21:07. So I'd love to break 21 minutes.
Amazing.
That's an amazing improvement over those years. So I mean, Jackie, about 8 years, right? If I can say, you mentioned, so I said you're 58 now. So I mean, that's an amazing improvement over those years. So, and then and then from parkrun to marathon, as most runners do. What was that journey like for you? How did you get there?
What led you to a marathon?
Yeah, I actually had done some half marathons before I was 50, and I did the Great North Run in 2002 with a friend. So I had done half marathons, but I did have an injury as a result of, I'm not sure if it was hockey, but hockey played a part in it, and I've had knee surgery. And during that time, the consultant said, I wouldn't recommend that you run too much. I was like, oh, but you can carry on playing hockey. And I was like, that's weird.
That's weird. Yeah.
But anyway, I ignored his comments and decided I would run anyway. But doing the Liverpool half marathon, I was a bit like, is this what I should be doing when a consultant has told me I shouldn't be running? But that was in March 2018 when my daughter was living in Liverpool. And I did the half marathon there, just following a Bupa training plan. And I actually smashed my PB from the Great North Run. And I did it in 1 hour, 50 minutes. I was just a few seconds over. At that time, you could get into London on a half marathon time, which I don't think you can now. A good for age one. So, but I'd smashed my 15 years previously. I'd done it in something like 2 hours 15 with my friend, and it just that I actually cried after that one, and I've not cried after any marathon, bizarrely, but I cried after the half marathon. But yeah, I think it was partly getting into parkrun and also deciding that I wanted to stop playing hockey. And see what I could actually achieve with the running instead. So, yeah.
What is it you
question?
So, yes, you did. Yes.
Yeah. I was just going to ask you, do you have a day job or do you kind of...
So amazingly, I have literally just retired. So I had a digital marketing agency based here in Nottingham, although it's a virtual agency. So we were working with clients pretty much all over the UK and even some abroad as well. But I had that agency for 20 years and amazingly, I sold it, passed it on to 2 colleagues who'd worked with me for 10 years and 9 years, literally this month actually. So I'm sort of semi-retired at the moment because I've got handover work to do, but then I'll be fully retired and I'm going to attempt to be a professional athlete for a while and see what I can achieve.
Love it.
With your help, obviously.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Get the joy and the luxury of getting to nap in the day and just, rest and recover and run and so on. So I want to come back to your half marathon in just a little bit because just to let our listeners know, because you PB'd that half marathon, as you say, in Liverpool, but you've just PB'd that half marathon again by another 9 minutes, right? So, which I think is just phenomenal. So we'll come back to that in a little bit. But maybe, talk us through your first marathon was Manchester, right? So that was in 2023. How it felt, time you did, and then were you one of those people who were like, oh, I'm never going to run a marathon again, or had the bug bitten for you?
I'll be honest. I think I trained well because obviously I was using Coach Parry, I think I trained well for that marathon. But I did get to that mile 20, and I just felt a bit weird. That weird feeling of, oh, I'm not sure if I'm all here. But I kept going anyway. I've always used the Morton gels, and I was using those. But towards the end of that marathon, I felt. I did feel a bit funny, but I kept trying to use the gels. I don't think I used as many as I have since, so I've learned a lot. At the end of that marathon, I thought, no, I don't want to do another marathon ever again. I'd got a good time, and I thought I've got a good time I can do London now, but I was actually, I don't know. I really don't know if I want to do this again. But I did enjoy it. And I would say the Manchester Marathon is brilliant. It is very well organised. It's smaller than London. There's advantages to all of these different marathons, I think. And overall, I did enjoy it. It was just the last 10K. It did impact me. I don't think I hit the wall, but I don't really know what the wall is.
The last 10K is not ever easy, though. I mean, that's the kind of beauty of the marathon, really, is how you cope with that last 10K. How long did the feeling last then that you weren't going to run another marathon? How long was that before you signed up for London?
Oh, I don't know, actually, if I'm honest. Although I do know that it probably didn't last any more than a few days before I thought I'll definitely do London.
There we go.
If I can get in. I I think I was 8 minutes within the good for age time. So I figured I probably got a good chance of getting in. So I did obviously go for it and got in. But, yeah.
Excellent. And then so the two London, so London 2024, which was your good for age entry, and you ran 3:39 there, which then obviously was a PB on the 3:56 from Manchester, and then London 25. And we were talking about this a little bit off air, just in terms of, London this year was so hot, right? And but you ran a 3:41, so like really well within your PB, and in that heat this year was amazing. So yeah, really, I think just kudos. And what are the particular points? I mean, you've been training with us for 4 years now, but within that marathon training that you feel really helped you to get to these times and have these improvements in your times?
I think probably consistency with the training. With the Coach Parry platform, obviously, as you know, you've got the program, you've got the schedule, including the strength training, and I just don't like to see it not going green. Obviously, yes. I don't like too many red spots. I do know that sometimes you have to, dial it back, and I do work with you guys to do that sometimes when I've got niggles or whatever. But I would say bizarrely that the 2024, the comparison between the two is quite interesting with the marathons, because 2024. That's last year, isn't it? Yeah. I honestly didn't hit a wall. It just was as close to a perfect marathon as I could imagine, in a way. It was, it just went so well when I compare it with 2025 in the heat. So for example, when I did 24, I didn't feel like I was going up any hills. There were no hills on the London Marathon.
Yeah, right.
In 2025, it felt like there were a lot of hills. It was like,
more of a slog. I think it can make, the average temperature of London Marathon this year was something like 24 degrees. And the previous year was it was very low. It was like 10, 11 degrees. It was massive. It was perfect running conditions the year before. Shona, you ran it as well.
Yeah, I ran,
So it was really perfect. And I think people underestimate just how much physiologically that can make a difference to you. And when you start to get warm and your body's trying to work at keeping you cool and you're trying to make it run, then you probably do feel like you're running uphill the whole time.
Which again just speak volumes as to your two times and to how 3:39 and 3:41 in a 10 to 12 degrees difference, Celsius difference is massive. So I would love to have known what you would have smashed this year in ideal conditions. But yeah, so then that's obviously leads us into coming up to Boston. So the Boston qualification, was that based off your London time, or And you mentioned to us that you didn't even really, you had a friend tell you that you qualified for Boston, right?
I was actually away on holiday, and I was out running in the morning because it was too hot to run in the afternoon, or even in late morning. And I saw this lady going by, and she'd got this year's London Marathon t-shirt on. And I said, I'm quite forward thinking. I'm quite forward. I said, you've got my t-shirt on. And we just started chatting. And we chatted after and whatever. And that's when she said, well, I'm going to go for the Boston Marathon. You've got the Boston Marathon time as well. I was like, have I? And so literally on holiday in Greece, we both signed up for the Boston Marathon, and we've both got in. So we'll be going over there. Hopefully we'll be meeting up and everything. She's got family in Boston, so yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
That is brilliant.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's really exciting. So that's a really big event for you next year to focus on, really, and stuff. What's your thoughts with Boston? Are you kind of wanting to go for a time, or are you just wanting to go to soak up the atmosphere and tick off the race, or quite a thing on your destination marathons?
So I'm not 100% sure. In fact, it's something we could talk about, because I do have the Prague half marathon as well. I managed to get into that, and that's the 28th of March.
Okay.
So, and then it's Boston, the 20th of April. So they're fairly close together, actually, aren't they? Looking at those dates.
3 weeks.
But with having just smashed my half marathon PB, I'm thinking Prague is a bit of fun. And then obviously Boston is the bigger one. But as I say, I don't think Boston is a PB course personally. I don't think it's going to be a 3:30 breaking. I'd love to break 3 hours 30. I don't think Boston is necessarily that.
Yeah, I don't think it's that bad a course either. I think if you were like looking to aim for a sub 3:30, given all your times, that wouldn't be an unrealistic goal to go for. What you have to bear in mind in Boston is there are a few more uphills, but I don't think it's not doable. It's just the course is about 5 minutes slower than, say, a fast flat course or a London course. And a lot of people do have their PBs set at Boston. So it is achievable. Boston can be a bit random with the weather as well. There have been real years with gales and storms, and then other years, the year I did it was super hot. So you also are a wee bit prone to the weather to affect your times too. But if you have a good ideal weather day, I think given your times there, a sub 3:30 is achievable. Certainly, if you want to go for that. My advice would always be to make sure that you just get to the start line fit, healthy, and well. With a destination marathon, you tend to sink quite a lot of money into it, flights to get there, hotel accommodation, and all this sort of stuff. So often when you're trying to really push a PB, you may be doing a little bit more and you risk injuries. So I would kind of definitely take Prague. It was Prague, wasn't it? Definitely take Prague as a bit of a training run and do it as 70-80%. In fact, I would never even do a half marathon that close to a destination marathon. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of doing a half. Well, I don't know. What do you think, Shona? I mean, I'm a big no-no for half marathons in a marathon training cycle, really.
Yeah, in particular, a hard half marathon.
Yeah.
I've in the past perhaps given some of my clients like a little bit of a progression run, if it's further enough out. But again, it depends what is the main priority. And like you say, having PB'd your half now, perhaps Prague is more of a, go and enjoy Prague, go and enjoy. You can obviously, just treat that a bit more like a bit of a long run, or even add in some tempo intervals into that perhaps. But yeah, if Boston is the main goal, with like Nicky's saying, then I would rather be a bit more conservative with that. Yeah, but Boston, I mean, it's a phenomenal course. It is, like Nicky says, slightly slower compared to the other majors at the very least, or other fast marathons. But Nicky did mention as well that a lot of people do land up PBing on that course because they go into the race in such good fitness, in good shape, because you come out of your qualifying marathon and you just have that momentum. So it's not impossible. So I would definitely, I mean, we can chat about that also closer to the time in the forum, but yeah, I think that it was well within your goals for sure, and within your reach, definitely to aim high for that, for sure.
Yeah, and you have such a good base from this year. I was having a wee look through your plans before we came on this pod, and you've just got quite a solid year of running, and it looks like you're quite an active person as well, because you seem to have quite a lot of walking in your plan as well. So I don't know if you've got a dog and doing long dog walks every day.
Yeah,
right. Okay. Yeah. So it's almost like you're doing double days, because you're running and then doing quite long 3-4 mile dog walks every day as well. So are you coping okay with that? I mean, do you get tired? How do you find the plan? You're on 5 days a week on the plans, aren't you? So
yeah, I am. And when I got the niggle before this last marathon, I reduced that. I think I reduced it back down to 4, and occasionally I don't do the intervals. I just do it as another easy run instead on the Tuesday. So where I know I need to sort of pull back a little bit, I do with your help. but I still have that bit of a niggle on my right side. So, in fact, I was going to ask you. Obviously, like I took 2 weeks off completely after London. As a professional athlete, I presume they will have breaks. They will have another 2 weeks, even if they're not doing a marathon, or they'll have some time. I don't know. Do they?
They absolutely do. I mean, the elites, when they're running, so like Kipchoge as example, he'll go and if he ran, what did he run recently? He ran Chicago. No, what did he run? Sydney, didn't he? He ran Sydney. Yeah. So nonetheless, they will normally aim for 2 main marathons for the year at most. But then after that race, they, they'll take 4 to 6 weeks. So 4 weeks at least off. And then they start with very easy running on their, from about week 5, 6, to then build back. So I always laugh whenever we tell people in the forum, please take at least 2 weeks off after your race. And people are like, I'm not taking that much time off. And I'm like, well, if the elite runners can do it, if they're taking 4 weeks off, we definitely can take that amount of time off. Of course, we want to keep momentum and so on. And that's why we recommend at least 2. I think 1 obviously from a physiological perspective, just to let the marathons are hard and they really take the toll on the body. So we want to allow the body to recover. But I also just think, especially for someone like you who is quite, A-type, who wants to get those blocks green, to also just have a mental break from following a plan. I think it's so important because then when you get back into it, you're just so much more motivated to do it. So so I would, but that's after a marathon. After a half, I would always say, maybe a couple of days up to a week, and to definitely not start running again until you're no longer stiff and sore. That's normally my recovery after a half.
Okay, I've got a 5K at this weekend, but after that I might take a little bit of a break then, rather than carrying on with another block, if you like.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, sorry, Nikki, go ahead. Do you want to say something?
Oh, I was just going to say, you sound like you're quite sporty. So we don't, do other things. Cross training, you dog walk quite a lot. It's not like you just are going to put your feet up on a couch by the looks of it from your plan. So swimming and cycling and all these good things are good too. And sometimes it's nice just to do something a wee little bit different.
Yeah, we do have a static bike upstairs, so maybe I'll use that a bit instead of running. But I did wonder about, now I've potentially got more time, whether you run in the morning and then you go on the bike in the afternoon, or is that just crazy?
If you want to recover from sessions faster, not feel tired all the time, run pain and injury free, and improve your endurance, then be sure to join me in my upcoming training specifically for female runners over the age of 45. In it, I'll share with you my simple 5-step framework that will transform your running. Simply scan the QR code on screen now, or click on the link in the description to save your seats in the training now. We look forward to seeing you there. It depends really on. I would start small with that, right? So don't. We train triathletes to train twice a day and do that. So it really comes down to how you are recovering and how you are responding to that. So I wouldn't say let's get you to 2 sessions a day straight away. Let's introduce a bit of bike cross training. And because you are already running 5 times a week, one of those will probably have to be on a running day or a strength day. But we'll have to then just manage that as to how you are recovering and balancing that load, because it doesn't help to do extra if you're not recovering, right? And the more isn't always better. And perhaps for you, again, and let's just come back to this injury or this niggle that you have, but perhaps for you, taking away that 5th running day and making that a cross training and bike day might be beneficial, because then we're still building up that aerobic capacity, but without that load of running. So I would play around with that, perhaps a little bit more than just adding in a bike.
Yeah, that's a good shout, Shona. Just for the listeners and stuff, what is your injury at the moment?
If I knew, it would be good. It started last December, actually, with my foot, but it now feels like it's foot, ankle, shin. It's just a very strange thing that's going on. I don't know whether I do need to get some sort of x-ray or something on it just to be sure, but I did get an x-ray done at the time.
I remember we did. You did go to just check that it wasn't like a stress fracture in the metatarsals. I remember that.
Yeah. But whether I need to get that checked again, maybe I should, just to be sure.
Yeah, it might be worth it. I mean, we do have aches and pains as older runners. There's no question. It takes a little bit to get going in the morning. I know my run this morning, I definitely needed the mobility before I went out. And so I guess it's just that fine balance of, is it just the sort of aching, or is it really becoming a bit more painful? And if we end up doing more training, will it get worse? So definitely getting the physios to reassess.
Yeah, I might book in with a different physio just to get a second opinion as well.
Yeah, I think that's not a bad idea. And also, you know, maybe sorry, Jackie, just maybe as a suggestion, to maybe also have a look at working with Kelly, who is our rehab specialist, who's also been on the pod before, just to maybe, because if there is a bit of an imbalance, because often in that area, you know, when we are looking like ankle, foot, shin, a lot of that has to do with the agonist and antagonist muscles. So if one muscle is slightly stronger than the other, and just from the load of running, you know, so maybe that is something to look at, and maybe getting some rehab exercises from Kelly to then help with that, and hopefully that because you just, well, I think what Nikki's point is, you just don't want it to become a chronic concern, especially, you know, going into this Boston training now, for sure.
Yeah, a wee focus of that before Christmas, and just seeing if some things, like it could be your shoes, like Shona says, foot core, strength through the leg, but just getting a little bit of help from Kelly, or maybe a running physio beside you or something like that, would be a really good thing, just ahead of. But bringing in the cross training one day a week might be enough, just
will help.
to, yeah. Because also, if you're sort of talking about double days, well, you know, you do like 4 or 5 mile dog walks every day. I mean, you effectively are doing double days already, you know, and dog walkers, I think, always, I mean, I've got a dog, it's the sort of same sort of thing, you know, we're out walking the dogs and you forget that actually that's mileage and time on feet too. And I would be tempted to say, you've done so well of what you're doing that I wouldn't change that much, because I think you will just continue to do well off that, providing your injury doesn't build. And so, because that's a lot of people kind of come in. I know I did, certainly when I qualified for Boston. I was like, right, I'm going to work harder. I want to see what I can really do. And I ramped up my program. That was the wrong thing to do. Actually, just compounding on what I already had, doing the same and more of, would have been the way to go. And I think with yourself, I mean, you might have just a bit more time to concentrate on the strength training. That might be something that you might want to do a little bit more of. Perhaps, do you come on to the Coach Parry strength?
No, I don't tend to. I haven't done, because it was always during working hours, but it is potentially something I could do. I've never done that, so that would be new. I probably haven't. I've always done strength training to an extent, but I always do the foot core, because that's a quick 15 minutes.
Yes.
But some of the others I'm not so good at. The band and core workout, I tend to do every week. But the others, I'm a bit more hit and miss, and maybe not fully doing them, like doing as much as I can in the time that was allowed. But obviously, I've got a lot more time now, so I definitely think focusing more on the strength training will help, for definite. But and you wouldn't ever, like, I'm doing 5 days a week of running. You wouldn't ever have anyone at our age doing 6 days a week, or?
No, it's not. It's not really in the Coach Parry philosophy for our runners who are over 45 or 50. Only because we've really just seen phenomenal results with the amount of running that we recommend, 4 to 5 days a week of running.
And you're clearly proving that, Jackie, as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, you know, you got a system that's working, and I think the minute we add more, you know, so and again, let's just a reminder here that you're only going to benefit from the exercise and the running and the strength that you're doing when you are recovering, right? You don't get the benefit of that while you're doing the exercise, and so adding another day means you would need more recovery. And so I just don't think that the risk and reward there isn't you know doesn't weigh up enough.
And your body's already got a little grumble going on, so that's a sign that actually you're on that limit.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And so again, you're speaking about like becoming like an elite athlete now, and you've got more time. What else should I be doing? For me, the key, and I've worked with elite athletes who they have all this time, and what makes them elite, and what the benefit of all that extra time is their recovery. So they can go home. I used to train with some of the runners that Lindsay used to coach. I was their sports scientist, and they would go home and they would eat and they'd have a nap. And then they would get up and maybe do their afternoon session or whatever it was, or their strength. And then they would get home and they would get to relax again. And so the benefit for the elite athletes for me isn't that they've got extra time to do extra work. They've got extra time to recover. And so for you going into this now with extra time, that would be my benefit, is adding in the strength, like you mentioned, because you haven't perhaps maximized that enough.
Yeah.
But then just not having the stress of having to wake up early for work, having to do that, maybe having an afternoon nap in the day, which I think is a great benefit.
You don't sound like you take afternoon naps, actually, Jackie.
I think,
but even just relaxing, so not having stress and work. That for me is where your biggest benefit is going to come from, this extra time.
And that's spot on, Shona. And we focus on nutrition as well, and maybe a way that you couldn't quite before. And you can just nail all those little bits.
Yeah, the little 1%.
Yeah, but the strength training, I think, would be a good goal as well.
Yeah.
And I think taking it up to Christmas, just trying to get on top of why those niggles are there, and doing the rehab and getting a sort of maybe a scan that shows hopefully nothing's there, and then just the rehab that hopefully strengthens that area, because invariably it is about strengthening and imbalancing. And then, then the rest and recovery and stuff. And also we're heading into winter in the UK here. And I think sometimes it's much harder to run. It's so dark. So I think being able to run now for you, because did you always get up early, run, and then work? And so you ran in the dark. So now you'll be able to run in the sunlight, and you'll be able to sort of warm up before you go out. And doing a little bit of mobility before you go out is something you probably never did before, but it'll pay off in terms of injury prevention if you can just do that 5-10 minutes before you leave the house and run in the daylight a little bit more. It's just so much nicer.
It's weird, isn't it? Because I used to get up at 5:30 or 6 o'clock to do my runs. But I actually quite liked it because it was so quiet and dark, but quiet. But
I mean, I'm not stopping you from doing that.
Yeah, I'm not going to, trust me.
So, because then you're maximizing on sleep. Again, sorry, I sound like a broken record here, but then you're going to get to sleep a little bit longer, which is going to help your recovery. Which is then just going to make you feel better overall, anyways, as well. So, good, Jackie. So if you have more questions, please go ahead as well. But I want to just maybe dive into your thoughts around, like, so okay, from now until Boston, you've got Prague coming up. Do you have an idea of how you want to tackle this? I mean, obviously that's what we're here to guide you with, or any other questions with regards to that?
In terms of the build up, I guess one of the things is going to be, I mean, I'm going to need to do more hills, I presume. Well, hills and downhills would be good based on Boston. Would that be right?
Yeah. So in our Boston plans, anyways, and we are making some changes to the plans all around, and so we essentially will now have marathon plans, like flat marathon plans and hilly marathon plans. So in those plans, yes, there will be elements of hill work, and whether that is, it'll likely start with something like a 2-minute hill, block of 2-minute hills, because that really works on strength, right? So not strength like in the gym, but strength, running strength. And then maybe that plan will then go towards more 1-minute hills, which then focuses on a little bit more power aspect. So, but yes, that your Boston plan will definitely have an element of hill climbing or hill work, hill repeats. Sorry, let me say. And again, just whenever we speak about hills, I always like to mention the benefit of strength training, because that is really what's going to help. People are like, I don't live in a hilly area, but I'm like, yes, but if you do strength training, it's going to help. So, so yes, you want to, of course, do some hill repeats, but if you can, I'm not sure what Nottingham is like in terms of terrain and hilly or flat. But generally you don't want to be tackling your long runs in hilly areas, but undulating is helpful, as long as you're keeping those runs easy. But there will be an element of hill training in the build up for you.
Okay, because I was wondering whether I just incorporate it into some of the easy runs. Like there are some hills that, they call it the West Bushford escalator, and you go up and down different hills in the area, but it's called the escalator.
Oh yeah, I'm a little bit nervous of sometimes of that, like of just people throwing in heels for the sake of throwing in heels. So then maybe it's better to keep we do heel repeats, on a 3 to 5% gradients, and then you can keep some courses undulating. But what often happens is when people are running those undulating courses that are very undulated, they just run them a little bit too hard. And so your long runs then aren't run as easy as they should be. So then you're not recovering for then your hills that you're doing on the Tuesday that you've just come off your run on the weekend. So yeah, I would just maybe just keep those things quite keep you easy in your long runs easy, and then you got capacity for your heel repeats thereafter.
Okay.
Yeah.
It'll be great.
Good. Yeah, and sorry, Nikki, you go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say the same. It's good. Boston is an awesome marathon, and I don't, when I ran it, I didn't remember the hills in it. So, I know, whereas everyone's kind of, but I think, that I was running in Edinburgh and training in Edinburgh, which is quite up and down. So even if everywhere you go, you're generally going up and down.
How do you pace Boston though with all those hills?
You pace it by effort levels. So you'll find the first lot is very flat, and the hills I think come at about 16 odd miles in, and then they come a bit later as well. But you have a bit of a sweep, I think about 16, 18 miles in. And so you just pace it by effort level as you would in any kind of marathon. You want to go really easy, that sort of 5, 6 out of 10 at the start, and it was super easy. When you get to the hills, you just want to still keep that effort level. So you will, the pace will be slower, and you just have to kind of trust that it'll all even out in the end. But you don't push up the hills because they're a bit of a slow grind. And so you don't push up the hills. You just keep that effort level the same, maintain it as you go through. There'll be a little bit of downhill too. Like I said, I didn't think they're not that frightening, the hills.
Oh, okay. Because I was thinking,
everyone's different though. Just like you say that you felt that London was hilly this year, where it was perfect last year. There are times that I also felt that New York wasn't that hilly particularly. I felt I was running downhill all the time in New York, but it clearly does have some hills going up. So I think sometimes it's just on the degree of how well trained you are and how good a training cycle you've had. As to how you feel on the day. And if you start easy and slow enough, and that sort of perceived effort, and you just keep that going, you fuel well. And then for us, from the UK going to Boston, it works quite well, the time zones for us too. So everything works in our favor, really, assuming that the weather plays ball on the day.
I think, sorry, Nikki, just with pacing, with my experience with some of the athletes that I've coached to Boston, the ones that have done well, because the first 3 or 4 kilometers, Nikki, correct me if I'm wrong, are quite downhill. If not in the first kilometers, it's quite a steep downhill. And so the key there is also just to make sure that you're holding yourself back in those first few kilometers, because if you gun those, then you will burn on the hills later on. So it is really about, because obviously Boston is a net downhill overall, even with the hills. So it is quite a bit of a downhill in the beginning. So really just running within yourself and holding back there. And then if I'm not mistaken, the last 7 kilometers are quite easy. So if you get over the hills and you're feeling strong, then you've got the last 7 Ks to really let the legs go a little bit more. So yeah. But yeah, we do have pacing charts for Boston in particular that take each kilometer into account. So we can definitely give you a specific chart closer to the time as well.
Excellent.
Yeah. But you'll have a few key races in the build-up and the training block that will load up for you, that will give you a few indicators of how your training's going and what you can pace closer to the time. And I think just being really careful with Prague, actually, the reason I don't like people doing half marathons is, firstly, you've got a bit of travel there. And if you go a little bit too hard, it's often when you pick up a cold afterwards, just actually the health. So just when you go to Prague, please wear a face mask on the travel, and then just do take it a little bit easier and try not to pick, because there's lots going around at that sort of time. So that's the main thing that I always worry about with colds and stuff.
Yeah, we're planning on going for, I think, a week. So, it's not even that far away. We're treating it as a holiday as well. So I think I can probably, treat it as a holiday run.
Fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, good. Any other you had another question for us, I think, Jackie, around marathons.
The one about the one marathon a year? Yeah. So, I mean, I sort of had a rule, which was one marathon a year would be enough for someone of my age. But obviously with Boston in April, and I'm liking the idea of Amsterdam or Valencia, but is that a good idea or is that not a good idea?
My view is it's an okay idea. It's not a bad idea. Let me put it that way. And it all comes down to how you recover after Boston, and then how you build back up again. I don't have an issue with people running 2 marathons in a year as long as they are well spaced out and that you train accordingly. So it's got a lot to do with that. And Amsterdam's in end October, and obviously Valencia in December. So that gives you a lot of time in between to recover, even build, but go all the way back down to 10K and build back up to a marathon from there. My issue when people are running lots of marathons in one go, and this is a South African concern because the South Africans like to use marathons as stepping stones to comrades, and practically running like 2 or 3 in the build up to comrades, is that if they don't run those easy enough, they're obviously going to hurt themselves. And so it is just about how you pick your marathon, choose the priority run, recover from it, and build up to the next one. That is quite key for me. Nikki, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree with Shona. But I also, I'm 55, and I often think that, well, if you're fit and you're well, and they're getting so much harder to get into marathons, that if you have the capability and you want to kind of do some of these destination marathons, then take them off, because you just never know when you can't do these things anymore. So sometimes, but yeah, if you're going for times and you're trying for PBs and really pushing things, then 2 is probably your go-to. But if you're actually going for the experiences and the big shiny medal and all that sort of stuff, then picking up a few extra, I definitely wouldn't have a problem with now. And there's some great marathons out there, and you're saying Amsterdam and Valencia, and I don't know. I mean, they're both really. I couldn't pick between the 2 of them. So but they're getting hard to get into. So it's not getting that easy to choose which one. It's a question of
which one comes up.
What fits with family life and what you're fit to do. And I think sometimes when you're fit and well, and like Shona says, do some that are just easy and even run walk, or pick one that's your super competitive. That's the PB one.
And you're talking about going sub 3:30. I mean, Valencia would be a nice option for that. So if you wanted to then go to Boston, enjoy Boston, maybe do well in Boston, but not fight for that PB and risk blowing up, then Valencia would be a great option for that. I mean, Amsterdam's also flat and fast. I ran it in 2019, so it was a while ago, but and it did bottleneck a little bit at the beginning, but I know there are road works, so I'm not sure if that's changed at Amsterdam now. But Valencia obviously is known as a flat and fast race, so that's a great one to go for a PB.
And often has, mind you, I don't want to say it this year because we're going out to do it, but often has the right weather in Valencia. Starts very cool, and is quite known for its good weather.
Yeah, I must say Valencia would be the one. It's just getting into it, isn't it? That's the key.
Well, I got into Valencia when I did London last year. Valencia Marathon had a stand at the expo, and I just put my name on the mailing list, and then somehow I was selected as a pre-entry. So I got pre-entry before, so it was just luck of the draw. So maybe look out for them when you're at the Boston expo anyways. And actually that might be too late because that's next year. But just keep an eye out for, I think entries open in December. So keep an eye out for those.
I've actually looked. I think you can even pre-entry now.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And I mean, Nikki was mentioning that. I mean, we've got other Coach Perry clients who are friends of Nikki's and mine that we're going to do Valencia with, who got their entries,
2 weeks ago.
Quite recently. So, so there are lots of substitution options for Valencia as well. So that it is difficult to get into, but there are options definitely to get an entry later on in the year. And then that is really around, just recovering well after Boston and then building back up. But Nikki hit the nail on the head earlier. You want to get to these marathons injury free. So I think sorting out this niggle that's there, making sure that doesn't become chronic, because then you don't want that to be a thing that holds you back after Boston in the build up to Valencia either. The consistency, and you even said it, that was the key in the Coach Perry plans that you've performed so well in. So I think that consistency is really honing in on that and just trying to stay injury free is the goal for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, no, it's been great to chat to you, Jackie, and stuff. If you had any advice for any older folks coming into marathons, do you have any advice that you would give, or any last comments you'd like to throw out there?
I don't know really. I don't know that I can give advice, but
put you on the spot there.
I suppose, yeah. Don't push too hard. When you need to step back a bit, step back, because otherwise you do get, we're not getting any younger, and we want to keep running. So I think listen to your body, and listen to Shona about doing the strength training.
I love that. Thank you, Becky. That's so much nicer when someone else says it and not me. So thank you. That's always helpful.
That's brilliant. Oh, well, thank you so much for your time today, Jackie. It's been an absolute pleasure to meet you, and all the best. And we'll monitor your progress through the forum, and hopefully we'll get you back on again, and maybe on your way to Boston later on, or maybe after. But it would be lovely to speak to you again. And yep, and if anyone's got any comments or questions that they would like to ask as well, just pop them down below and ask away. We'd love to hear anything, small, big questions. That would be great. Otherwise, we will catch you all again next week. All
Brilliant.
right.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.